Hi all, welcome back to Make More Bonsai. John here. Let's talk a bit about general terminology as it applies to bonsai. Things you'll hear over and over when discussing, growing, or appreciating bonsai. I'm hoping to establish with this little video a starting point for reference, all gathered in one place for easy access. Let's keep in mind, this is not everything you'll ever need to know ever. Bonsai is an ever-evolving art form. This video is intended as a place to start, which can sometimes be the thing that prevents anyone from getting involved and possibly missing out on a really good time. Speaking of starting, let's begin. The moment that really opened my eyes and my mind to working with bonsai was when I learned bonsai are viewed from the front. The front is the intended viewing side by the artist. Think of it as if it were a frame, and within the frame is positive and negative space. The tree itself would be the positive space, and the negative space is, well, not the tree. When designing a bonsai, one of the first things you'll need to figure out is what will be the front of the design. One of the things that help you determine the front of the tree is the roots, or the base of the trunk. Specifically, any roots that appear above the surface of the soil, or how the base of the tree looks best when it contacts the soil. The roots and the base can offer a lot of information that will help you decide what to do next with your tree. Are the roots gripping the ground? Do they show strength or age? Are they spread around the whole tree, or are they more on one side, indicating an imbalance that you can use in your design? One great place to start when reviewing the base is, from which angle do they appear the widest? Logically speaking, it's widest where it is oldest, so the tree would be widest at the base. This logic also applies to the trunk and branches as well. If a branch is wider, that translates to it is also older. Moving up from the base is the trunk. The trunk is the first section of the tree parting from the base or roots. Generally, a trunk should be wider at the base and even smaller as we ascend to the top of the tree. This is called taper. A tapering trunk is essential to help establish the illusion of a tree in miniature. This exaggeration helps reinforce the abstract image of a large tree, however small it is in reality as a bonsai. When you combine the roots at their best angle of presentation and the trunk at its best, you're well on your way to finding the front of your tree. Moving up through the trunk, we encounter branches. Branches that emerge from the trunk are primary branches. The branches that emerge from the primary branch are secondary and contribute to ramification. Ramification is something that, again, contributes to the abstract image of a large tree. The primary portion of the branch is widest when it departs from the trunk and tapers through to the secondary ramification, reinforcing the logic that widest is oldest. When looking at branches, it helps to decide what would be the main branch or defining branch. This branch usually is the branch that creates the main direction of the tree's design. It is also usually the branch that defines an asymmetric movement for the overall design of the tree. Sometimes, traditionally, it's the first branch, but not always. Every tree is different, as is the location of the defining branch. Often, it's helpful to include a design reinforcement branch or second branch. The second branch can help tell the story of the tree. Sometimes the location of the second branch helps decide what your main branch will be. Its angle or placement on the tree can aid and guide the viewer's eye. There are no hard, fast rules when designing a bonsai. You're working with a living thing, and finding these opportunities within what the tree has to offer is truly part of the fun and spirit of bonsai culture. Upwards and onwards would be secondary and back branches. Bonsai is a three-dimensional pursuit. Once you've decided on a front, and using the base and roots and trunk and have located your main defining branch and potential follow-up second branch, it's time to see if there are opportunities to add depth and dimension to your design. Secondary and back branches offer you the ability to add visual density to the design and foliar mass to further reinforce the design. If you like what we're doing over here, go on over to Amazon and check out our book, Bonsai Progress. It's a wonderful little tracker, fits in your pocket or your toolbox. You can keep track of up to 27 different trees, 70 lines with dates. It makes for a great gift, probably the least expensive thing you'll find in the world of bonsai. So go on over there and check it out. And also, if you like what you're seeing, like and subscribe. Now back to the fun. Finally, we need to talk about the apex, the top of the tree. The apex is where you depart the tree visually within the framing of the front of the bonsai. It can be thought of as the end of the story of your tree. Sometimes an apex can be soft and rounded, implying age, as the tree is rewarded with the most light so it spreads without competition for light. Sometimes it's more triangular, implying that it's not so old and working on spreading out, or maybe because it's so high up, the wind is too strong and prevents it from getting any bigger. When designing the apex, I like to think of it as kind of a little tree on top of a big tree, meaning include a defining branch, a secondary branch, and a back branch, and work your way up until you're out of tree to design. Or maybe something prevents a foliar apex from ever forming, like if the wind shear is too high or lightning. This brings us to another feature to consider when designing or appreciating bonsai, which is Jin. Jin is a branch that is dead. If you observe trees in nature, you may notice some branches are simply unsuccessful due to any series of events such as disease, fire, wind, lightning strikes, ice accumulation may have broken it, animal business. Let your imagination inspire you. What remains is called Jin when it's a branch. Keeping up with the concept of dead parts on a bonsai is Shari. Shari is a dead portion of the trunk caused by the aforementioned series of unfortunate events that could have led to portions of the trunk dying back and the bark falling off to expose the interior heartwood that remains supporting the living sections of the tree. For example, some trees have a hollow trunk. Juniper have veins that only support one section or branch, so if the branch dies, the rest of the vascular tissue also dies along the trunk, making a dead strip that carries down through the entire tree. While heading down, let's talk about what the bonsai is growing in or on. Bonsai are grown in a container or pot. The pot is generally shallow and assists in constricting and limiting resources that contribute to creating the environment that helps grow and maintain bonsai. Heck, it doesn't even need to be a pot. It can be growing on a slab of rock or even a tile, as long as there's soil present to support it. The choice of container should harmonize with the overall concept of the tree and make sense with the design. It can be earth tones, colored or textured or glazed, as long as the container harmonizes with the design and can assist in maintaining the health of your bonsai. Feel free to invoke calm or rage against the norm with whatever container captures your imagination. Speaking of maintaining health, bonsai do need special soil consideration. The medium the tree is grown in should promote water movement and retention in such a shallow environment as a bonsai container. There should be a strong balance of access to water and oxygen to keep the roots healthy. Most bonsai soils are porous aggregate materials with enough organic material to suit the tree's needs. This all depends on your environment and how often you are available to water your tree to maintain that balance and keep it healthy. For example, on a really hot summer day, your tree may need to be watered 2 to 3 times in order to prevent it from drying out. You'll need to experiment and adjust the balance depending on where in the world you live and what species of tree you intend to grow. These are some of the broad reference points and general bonsai vocabulary that will help give you more access to successfully growing and training a bonsai. That's another word to add to the vocabulary, training, but that will be a subject for a gazillion other videos. Thanks so much for taking the time to review these basic elements of bonsai. Understanding these concepts and spending time analyzing your trees, refining them using these basic concepts will really help you make bonsai better. And that's the goal of this, to make more bonsai. Thank you, and don't forget to like and subscribe.